Right, joining us now is attorney and legal analyst Mpumelelo Zikalala. Mr. Zikalala, thank you for being with us. How impressive do you think the arguments were from the two sides today?
Good evening to you and the SABC viewers. They were quite impressive. They were able to narrow down the issues if you consider what we started with yesterday. The issues being that there now seems to be a consensus that there is a constitution that does exist. There is a rule that does exist, but the bone of contention is who has the power enabled by which provision of which rule in the constitution. Now, that's the question in which the court will have to answer, carefully analyzing the wording of the constitution as it is. Now, if you look at it, you can also almost conclude that the manner or the way in which the ANC constitution is drafted is quite badly, because it seems to be in conflict in certain areas, and it seems to be in certain areas not giving full power to a single individual, and almost coming back to the NEC as the highest decision-making body when it comes to things or between conferences, which may work in favor of the suspended Secretary-General in terms of saying he wasn't afforded a careful or a meaningful opportunity to present his story to the NEC. The mere fact that he may have presented his arguments to the Integrity Commission is not enough for him to be given a proper or a meaningful audio pattern process. So that is what the court will have to decide in terms of this matter.
Okay, that is very interesting. And it also came up whether he agreed to the step-aside resolution and whether it was narrowed down to target him. Can you tell us a bit of the background? I remember after the letter of suspension was sent to Ace Magashule himself, he started saying to the various branches or provinces, look, everybody who's just been implicated in crime has to step aside. That somewhere along the line was the issue. Which would involve, of course, a much bigger net of people. He was implicated in terms of the step-aside resolution for those who are criminally charged.
That may be one of the factors of saying, but you also participated in the application of this particular rule. But you must also remember that as per Rule 16, you are the Secretary-General of the ANC, and the Constitution prescribes that you are the chief administrator of all the processes or the in-house matters of the ANC. So if so, you have read the Constitution and there are certain things that you didn't agree with, why didn't you raise this point earlier? Why only raise it when it only affects you at the moment? And why didn't you take it to the NEC? Because you must remember, as the SG would have controlled, have had influence in terms of the agenda and the matters in which the NEC was supposed to discuss. Also, the manner in which the Integrity Commission was supposed to work, or the manner of appeals when certain things are not going, or there are certain conflicting provisions in the ANC Constitution, he would have had power as the Secretary-General to say, let's please look at the house issues of the ANC. There are certain things that I'm not agreeing with in this matter. They are not as per the resolutions that were taken at conference. Let's make sure that we are able to put our house in order so that when it comes to the application of these provisions, because they govern how the ANC members are supposed to conduct themselves, it will be easier for us to implement those provisions as per the ANC Constitution.
Yeah. Isn't there a huge contradiction here? Surely if he believes people can't be summarily suspended, then he shouldn't have tried to suspend the president.
I think it comes back to the misinterpretation of the provisions of the ANC and exactly who has the power to implement those particular suspensions. Now, if you would look at it, both the manner in which he was suspended, one may argue that definitely the deputy SG didn't have powers to do so, because there's no other provision in the ANC Constitution that allows for that process to happen. Now, there were arguments favored today saying that there are rules of saying that you step in as the deputy SG into the SG shoes if the SG cannot perform, but they didn't explain as to what extent did that come about. But linked to that, and what I think the Advocate Lumpov was sitting on or was lamenting to the court was to say, even after that particular process has happened, you are supposed to give me, or as the SG, the opportunity to present my case, not just to anybody, but to the NEC as a sitting or the highest decision-making body of the ANC. And after I presented my case, it has been carefully thought of, then a decision can be taken. In this case, you have taken a decision prematurely in terms of implementing the step-aside rule. But it is, again, on the SG, because even the SG doesn't have the power to suspend the president. His power to suspend the president in terms of Rule 2570 is actioned or ignited by the decision of the NEC. So if there's no NEC decision saying that you must go and suspend the president, you can't do that as the SG, regardless of whether you hold the power of pressing the button of suspension.
Yeah. This is quite complicated, technical, legal argument here. If you're willing to put your head on the block, who would you say is going to emerge victorious? Will we see the Secretary-General, the suspended Ace Magashule, back in the fold or not?
I wouldn't say so for the following reasons. Now, if you look at the core or the intention of the parties when drafting all these things, the court is going to look at on the Constitution and say, we have to derive where is the source for all of these processes. Now, we can concede that as per Section 19 of the Constitution, you have a right to join a political party and to actively participate in it. But that right is not absolute, because you have to comply with the constitution of that particular political party. And the intention of the provisions of the constitution of the political party must be considered. In this case, the intention of the step-aside rule was to say, as the ANC has put it and submitted in many times, we want to protect the integrity and the public perception of the ANC. Now, in order for us to protect that while balancing the rights of the accused or the rights of our members, we are not going to suspend anyone who's been accused of a certain crime where there is no court proceedings that are currently taking place. We'll only suspend you once those court processes have started and there's a case number against you and you're attending court. Even then, we'll then extend or add another proviso of saying that we are going to review this process every 6 months.
Okay.
Just to check whether aren't you being prejudiced unfairly. So if they have followed all those processes, the intention or the core part of the core intention of the rule would have been satisfied.
Okay,
In this case,
I have to stop you there, Mr. Zikalala, only because we're running out of time, but I think you've made it clear why you are arguing the way you are, and we'll follow the outcome of that case being dubbed Ace Magashule versus the ANC. Thank you very much, Mpumelelo Zikalala, attorney and legal analyst.